Hello everyone. So in this video I'm going to be talking about the best primary commanders that you want to use while field fighting, as well as showing the best talent trees for that purpose. So if you're looking for talent trees for peacekeeping or maybe 1v1 or small skirmishes, this is probably not the best video for you. All the talent trees that I will be sharing here are specifically for big wars, field fighting, so at least like 30 or 40 players minimum. So if that's your thing, then this will be the perfect video for you. So to begin with, let's start with Gwanwyn, a great archer commander. So for the talent tree, what I would suggest is, I won't be talking about like the tree down here because it's like kind of self-explanatory, to be honest. So I'll be focusing on the actual main trees like precision, marksman, and peacekeeping. So for Gwanwyn, for archers, I generally feel like precision is just a much better tree than marksman. As well as from my tests, precision always gives the best results when compared to marksman. So I would suggest everyone to go with precision instead. So in precision, you go with the overall attack, obviously. Over here you have 7.5% more normal attack damage and less hero skill damage taken and march speed. So the thing is with archers, you have high 1v1 DPS, damage per second. So what you want to do is you want to get as many normal attack talents as possible because it stacks up. So over here we'll be taking the normal attack damage. Here you have a few different talents, more counter attack, less hero skill damage, but you get an increased attack. And over here you take 7.5% less normal attack damage. So the reason why I prefer taking the All Conquering, where you take 7.5% less attack damage, is because Gwanwyn is like the rage skill. It's not that great really. First, it takes a while to actually like go through all the damage, and and like you just I don't know, I just don't think it's worth like creating even more of the damage that you already don't deal too much of, or a little bit more extra attack. So over here, I prefer taking the less normal attack damage taken. Mostly because since you're an archer, you also have less range than mages, so it's quite likely that some will focus you because you're like will be in front of your mages, so it's more likely that you'll be in range for the enemy mages. For the main talent here, we go with invincible. Over here we go with attack speed, which works really well with all the extra normal attack damage. Then you have the intrepid, which when you cast the rage skills, you'll gain focus and your critical normal attack rate increases, as well as unstoppable, which increases your normal attack damage by 15%, which again, it's literally what you want. These are also decent, like they're good, but like so when you by using this talent, it happens 100% of the time when you cast a rage skill, right? So every time you do a rage skill, you get the crit rate increase. Over here, you have only 25% chance. So it's like one every four rage skills, you'll get like this buff. While over here, this one is always guaranteed on each rage skill. So in my opinion, it's much better. This one is it's not that great in my opinion, so I would just ignore it. These ones are good though, but like I said, Gwanwyn rage skill, it doesn't deal that much damage, so I don't think it's worth having this instead of just buffing more normal attack damage. And over here we take Mighty Slash, which again stacks really well with the increased attack speed and the increased normal attack. Basically, you just be launching an extra normal attack every now and then. Then we go into the marksman tree. You take the marksman attack. Over here, again, if Gwanwyn did more damage with the rage skill, maybe this one would be a decent choice. But since we're focusing on normal attack, I prefer taking the fully loaded. Over here, I took this one, the steady shot, but I would not recommend anyone to take this because you may not think that the tree over here, like the attack range that is reduced by 3, you may not think it's that much, but it really is. In a big fight, it makes a big difference. So you already have like less range than mages do, and by reducing your range even further, you are like making yourself an even bigger target because you need to get closer to actually like attack the enemy backline. Like like while also making it easier for the enemy cavalry and infantry to reach you. So definitely, I do not suggest taking this talent if you are aiming for big fights. I would suggest instead taking the alert. In my opinion, it's much better. This one would be okay if again if Gwanwyn dealt a lot of skill damage, which she really doesn't honestly. And over here, I would suggest Bullseye because again it increases normal attack focus, which increases the normal attack critical rate. So again, another buff for your normal auto attacks. So overall, this I will show on the screen the how the Gwanwyn talent tree would look like ideally. The red circles are the skills that you definitely want to take, while the blue ones are like optional. So it's like personal preference. So up to you to decide which one you want to take from the blue ones. Up next, we have Waldyr. So Waldyr is great, and I see a lot of people using Liliya over Waldyr on the field. And I honestly believe Waldyr is a better choice than Liliya as primary commander, and I will explain you why in a second. So let's go into the talent tree. So for talents, what I would suggest is instead of going for one of the less talents, I suggest we go for the main three talents over here on all three trees because I mean like on a field fight, what you want from mages is their AoE, which means they will be attacking as many marches as possible with the rage skills. So this is generally like 2, 3, maybe 4 marches every time you cast a rage skill. This like increases the value of your march by a lot because, well, essentially you'll be dealing damage to multiple enemies with a single rage skill. So what you want to do is, in my opinion, is get as many rage skills out as possible, which means taking as many rage building talents as possible, as well as increasing your rage skill damage as much as possible. Because again, you want to deal as much damage to as many people as possible with a single rage skill. So remember, focus, it's rage and skill damage. So with that said, I'd suggest going into magic first. Get foresight, which again increases your chances of getting 150 rage right away when you cast rage skills. So if you have like every 4 rage skills you cast, one of them you'll begin with 150 rage right away. So you'll be that much closer to casting another rage skill right away. Then I would go with intimidation because again you want to deal as much damage to as many people as possible with your rage skills. And then I would go with energy boost here, mostly because it's 40% chance, so like maybe one every 2 rage skills you cast this will apply. But what this does is it increases the targets that your rage skills attacks. So if your rage skill only attacks 3 people, when you take this, there's a chance that it will attack 4 people. Therefore, increasing like the value of your march even more. And for me personally, I believe that as many troops as you can attack, it's always like a high value thing, a high value talent. That's why mages are literally the meta right now in open field fights. Afterwards, so the PvP tree is kind of weird, honestly, because like it has really good talents, and like each talent gives you a lot of stats and buffs. So for example, like if you check the magic tree, intimidation gives you 7.5% skill damage for 5 points, but on PvP tree you get 15% more hero skill damage. So like it's literally double for the same 5 points. But the thing with the PvP tree is that I generally don't really like any of the big talents. So it's kind of weird, honestly. But like we really don't want to give up these high value nodes on the talent tree because they're just way too good to miss out on. So I would go with over here. I would go with Rivalry because 15% more normal attack damage. Although it's like a single target talent, 15%, it's still absolutely massive. Then you want to go with either High Spirits or Fury Flame. Personally, I believe Fury Flame is superior because you will already have a couple of rage regen talents. So we want to ensure that we just deal as much damage as possible to as many enemies, and for that, skill damage it's critical. Like it's the most important thing you can have. Then you have the choice on the big talents. Like I don't know, I don't think either of them are really good because like this one it's decent for infantry and for cavalry because you're melee, so you'll always have a lot of enemies attacking you. So there's a good chance that you'll have debuffs on your march. So this is actually like pretty decent for cavalry and infantry. But as a mage, you stand on the backline, so you won't have as many people targeting you. Maybe you'll be hit by Waldyr's rage skills, maybe by Liliya rage skills, and this can help for sure because it'll remove the damage over time and the reduced movement speed and stuff from Waldyr. But this one is like I don't know, man. It's 0.5%. I don't think it's that significant, especially because you only get that like every 10 seconds, which is quite a long time to be in battle for. Like by the time you get like 1.5% or 2%, like 30, 40 seconds, the fight is quite likely to already be decided. And if by some reason you forget to keep moving your march and selecting a new target, it'll be out of combat, and this will be lost. So personally, I would still take the luck of the draw. Then you go into the skills skill tree. Again, intimidation or skill damage, important. Over here, I would take the high spirits because again, you want to generate as much rage as possible to deal more rage skills as often as possible. So you'll have high spirits and foresight. So after this, I would suggest taking and this is the reason why I, I generally believe that Waldyr is a better primary commander than Liliya is. Because with Boiling Blood, Liliya will be dealing 15% more damage with their rage skill. So if you don't know, Liliya is literally the legendary commander in the game that heals the most rage skill damage in the whole game. And but like it deals the most damage if it procs the damage over time, which I believe has like 40% chance. But either way, it's a legendary commander with high skill damage, so increasing 15% more, it's quite significant in my opinion. So I would definitely take Boiling Blood and Waldyr as primary, especially because Waldyr also has the PvP talent tree, which Liliya does not have access to. So these talents are very important for PvP in my opinion. It's a lot of extra normal attack damage and extra hero skill damage that you're missing out on by going with Lilia's primary instead of Waldyr. So yeah, Waldyr's skill tree would look like this. So again, the red ones your are the like the ones we suggest to always take no matter what, while the blue ones are like the optional skills. So up to you. Up next we have Emrys. So Emrys, it's kind of weird because cavalry has a difficult time in big battles, but it still has its hit spot. So I'll be giving two different talent trees for Emrys. One for big wars and one for just trying to cut off reinforcements, farm hitting, or just going for like the enemies that split off from the big main group and try to catch them like in 1v1s. So for big wars, if you actually want to go into the middle of the war, I would suggest going for PvP tree as well as a cavalry tree. So you may be thinking, whoa, but he's a cavalry. Are you not going the mobility tree? And no. So the thing with cavalry currently is that they are extremely squishy. So you'll die super fast if you go into a big group. So you want to do two things. So you want to increase your counter attack damage as much as possible because you'll have multiple people attacking you. as well as increasing your normal attack and skill attack damage as much as possible. This is because you want to go in, deal your skill damage, try to nuke one march down, and then maybe run or just continue fighting while dealing damage with the counter attack. So as many stat buffs as possible, it's key because in a big fight, if you go mobility, you will die really fast anyways, and you won't have the extra stats to deal that extra damage, and it'll just be like, I don't know, I just think it's gonna be a wasted stat. If you go mobility tree, I would just suggest going for either the 1v1s or try to cut off reinforcements, chasing people fleeing, farm hunting. So yeah, for big fights, I suggest going PvP, going for the Rivalry, 15% more normal attack damage. Fury Flame, again, 15% more skill damage, very important. Here, I would suggest Luck of the Draw, definitely, because again, you're a melee, so you'll be getting a lot of debuffs over the course of the fight, and you want to remove them. Then over here, you can either take the counter attack damage or march speed. Personally, like I said, I think every stat and every damage you can deal in a big fight matters because the odds are you're not getting out alive either way. So might as well deal as much damage and get as many stats as possible on your cavalry. So again, I would go with Fearless to increase your counter attack damage. Then I would go with Strength to Strength, increases your Legion attack damage. This affects also your skill damage as well as your normal attack damage. So this is great. Despite being a small percentage, it affects both, so it's awesome. Then I would go with Stubborn Fighter. Honestly, I don't think this one is that good because if you are under 50% and you have the chance to back off, I would suggest doing so. Because your efficiency while fighting under 50% HP is severely reduced. However, if that's not something you can do, if you are like if you have too many enemies focusing you, fuck it, just stay in the fight, deal as much damage as you can, and this talent will help you do just that. So for the final talents, you can either go for Vigor, which will increase your HP, which again HP is the most important stat, or you can go for Breach Blade and decrease the enemy death. So personally, I would suggest Blessing of Fury for big fights because you'll be that much tankier. Or I mean, like both are really good either way. With like whichever you prefer, both are really good. But I feel like for big fights, Blessing of Fury is definitely better. But I think I think Breach Blade is definitely the better choice overall because like it's just there's more situations where you can actually like get good use out of this talent because this is good for 1v1s, this is good for killing reinforcements, killing people fleeing, as well as big fights. Like it's not as good as the other one, but you'll still be dealing more damage, and your enemies, your allies will also be dealing more damage to them because you'll be reducing their defense. So again, it's optional, one of the two, your choice. Then I would go into cavalry because again, we want to get as many sets as possible because the odds are we are not getting out alive in a big war anyways. So cavalry attack here is the attack. This will affect your rage skills as well as your normal attack damage, and intimidation for more skill damage. And then which is just going in perfect ferocity, which again increases your skill damage the first 10 seconds. So the fight starts, and you'll be dealing a lot more damage as soon as you deal use your rage skills. So the war Emrys talent tree would look like this. So coming back into Emrys again, I would suggest if you want to do farm hunting, chasing enemies fleeing, looking for the 1v1s when people split from the big group as cavalry, what you want to do is I would suggest going into mobility instead. However, going this build, I do not suggest you going to big fights because you'll just die super fast and you won't deal as much damage as going with the other build. So over here, you want to go with mobility. I would suggest going for, let me see. Okay, so I would suggest going with either overall attack or predator. First, so predator will get you more movement speed. So if people are fleeing, this is a good choice. But I personally believe overall attack here is superior, simply because if people are fleeing away from you, you're already a cavalry, so your movement speed will already be better right off the bat, unless it's another cavalry. So you'll always be faster than any mage, any archer, any infantry, regardless. So personally, overall attack, in my opinion, it's much better. Then uh, this one is also like kind of your choice. You can either go for more damage, more normal attack damage with Adrenaline Rush, or go for more March Speed. Personally, I think over here March Speed would make more sense because, well, it gives you more movement speed, so you can move around the map, do better at flanking, find the enemies that are alone. So I think movement speed over here would be better than just pure normal attack, especially because it's only like 7.5% more instead of, while the March speed you'll get 10% more March speed. Then I would go with swift maneuvers. This is because if you want to run away, if you want to chase people going into buildings or resource points, will give you a big March speed movement boost to keep chasing them. This is also extremely important when going around and farm hunting. Then you want to go into PvP because again, PvP tree, it's crazy in terms of the stats it gives you. So you never want to miss out on PvP tree. You go for Rivalry because 15% more normal attack damage, it's big. Then Fury Flame for 15% more hero skill damage, again 15% also big. Then since you're melee, I would also suggest Luck of the Draw over here. Then you go into the Cavalry tree. I would suggest going Cavalry Attack over here for more 5% attack. Then I would suggest Intimidation for 7.5% more skill damage, as well as Perfect Ferocity, which again, you want to go into the battle, deal a shit ton of damage, kill the enemy as fast as possible, and get out. So you can either go heal or go look for other targets to attack. So the Emrys farm hunting 1v1 chasing talent tree would look like this. Again, red circles are the mandatory talents, while the blue ones are like just optionals. Are the ones that like personal preference. You choose between them. They are not like mandatory. Both of them are good, so just choose whichever one you like the most. The red ones, however, are, in my personal opinion, the best and should never be switched. So going into Liliya. So again, Liliya, I see a lot of people using her as primary, despite even though like Waldyr, in my opinion, is so much better as a primary commander for the reasons I said before. So I would recommend you go back, listen to what I said about Waldyr and why he's so good as a primary commander, better than Liliya. But if you still want to use Liliya as primary, I'll be doing the talent tree for her. Since Liliya does not have the PvP talent tree and has peacekeeping instead, I would suggest going with the skills talent tree, so you can use rage skills as often as possible, as well as maximizing your rage skills damage as much as possible. So over here, we would go with, let me see, intimidation, because again, more skill damage. That's exactly what you want. Then you have high spirits. I would suggest this because again, you want to be casting as many rage skills as possible and as often as possible. Then I would suggest boiling blood because again, you want to be using Liliya. If you don't want to use Waldyr as primary, you want to be using Waldyr as second as deputy. Mostly because again, it's both Liliya and Waldyr have AoE rage skills, so you'll be attacking as many different marches as possible. So 15% extra damage, despite Waldyr's rage skill not being that good in terms of rage skill damage, but 15% is still a decent bit. Although Spirit of Rage is also not a bad choice for Liliya, in my opinion. Simply because, again, this is not like as good as like if you had Boiling Blood on Waldyr, 100%, because Liliya's deputy deals 15% more. It's massive because of Liliya's base rage skill damage. But for Waldyr, since his base rage skill damage is not as high as Liliya's, this talent is also like the effectiveness is also reduced. So both are really good for Liliya. So it's like personal choice. Then I would suggest detached. and you may feel conflicted because about this one because you'll be dealing, I think it's 7.5% less normal attack damage, but you'll also be dealing 15% more skill damage. So here's the thing, right? In a big war, you want to deal as much damage to as many enemies as possible. And the way you do that is by using your rage skills. Your normal attack damage, you'll be only attacking one person, so like no one cares. You deal, yeah, you deal more attack damage to that one person, but you'll be dealing less hero skill damage. So if you take this talent, it'll be the reverse. You'll be dealing less normal attack damage to the one guy you're targeting, but you'll be dealing 15% more hero skill damage to everyone that you'll be attacking with your rage skills. So the efficiency of your rage skills will be much higher. Overall, this is, in my opinion, a much must-have for a big war. Then you would go with focus, so you get skill critical rate. So your skills can do critical damage, as well as raging tide for more critical damage. Again, basically increasing your overall damage on your skills to as many people as possible. Then you want to go with thirst for blood because again, just more damage basically. And because this one, it's like this one only applies when, like, yeah, it's a lot more damage, but it's only when you're below 15%. So by then, like, your damage will be already be trash anyways. So this one is definitely much better. Although it's still like not an insane talent, it's still better. Then you want to go into the magic tree. For the magic tree, I would suggest going with the foresight because again, more rage skills, more rage you generate, more rage skills over time. Then go with intimidation because again, more skill damage, and then go with energy boost for the same reasons I explained on Waldyr's. Simply because your rage skills will be hitting more people overall, therefore increasing the value of your skills and the value of your march in a big fight. So Liliya's talent tree would look like this. So next up is Nico. So the thing with Nico is that he's quite different from Gwanwyn because his first skill has much more damage factor uh, than Gwanwyn does. So like it's mixed. I still haven't really tested, but either way, both builds should work really well. But I would suggest going with a more rage focused build for Nico instead of a pure normal attack build like we did for Gwanwyn, simply because he has more damage. Therefore, you will want to cast your rage skills as often as possible. While with Gwanwyn, it was the other way around. Like the rage skill wasn't as good, so you want to focus on your normal attack damage as much as possible. So for Nico, it's pretty much the same as Gwanwyn. You go with Adrenaline Rush, All Conquering, Invincible. Although Whirlwind is not bad either, since you'll be focusing more on rage skills and stuff. But I would still suggest Invincible. It's just way too good to miss out on. Overall attack speed, because it also goes really well with his last skill. Then instead of going with the critical rate on your normal attacks, I would suggest going with High Spirits because you'll be getting more rage, therefore casting your high damage rage skill more often, as well as Force of Will because it'll increase your normal attack damage overall. Then going with Mighty Slash, just like Gwanwyn. Then into Marksman, you pretty much go with the same as Gwanwyn did. You go with fully loaded here. Simply like, yeah, you can go with High Spirits. Like, it's also a good second talent, like an optional talent if you want to go with this. Because again, you'll also be casting more rage skills, but I think like 10% more normal attack damage might be better than High Spirits because 10% is just like a big overall damage boost. But again, either this or this are both really good, so it's personal preference. Then you can go. Then I would suggest on Gwanwyn we said Alert, and again, Alert is still a very good talent. However, I would suggest either Intimidation or Alert. Intimidation was not an option for Gwanwyn because again, her skill damage was trash, but that's not the case for Nico. So Intimidation is a decent skill, decent talent that you can pick for Nico. So again, personal preference, either Intimidation or Alert. Over here, I would still say like Shower of Blows, it's good, but I don't think it's worth missing out on Bullseye overall because 30% critical rate, it's big in my opinion, and like it lasts for 5 seconds. So in my opinion, it's like with increased attack speed, you'll be using this, getting this buff a lot more often. So overall, in my opinion, Bullseye is still better than Shower of Blows, simply because this is like a 50-50 thing, and it's only like 15% more damage. Like it's still good. So if you want to, you can go with this one. But personally, I still prefer Bullseye. So Nico Talent Tree would look like something like this. And again, red circles are what I consider to be mandatory talents, while the blue circles are like uh, optional. So it's like personal preference. Up to you. You decide. So last but not least, Madeline. So as infantry on a big fight, what you want to do is you're pretty much like the sacrificial pawn in the war, as in you're going in and you're definitely not coming out alive. So what you want to do is, as infantry, is you go in, you deal as much damage as possible, you tank for as long as possible, so that your mages can deal damage to their mages, and wipe them while the enemy mages focuses you. So the key is survive as long as possible and deal as much damage as possible at counterattack because you'll have the whole enemy Zerg attacking you. So we'll be focusing on um, counterattack and the defense skills. So unlike the other talents for the other commanders, we will not be going to the PvP tree because we don't need the extra normal attack damage or the extra skill damage or the extra regeneration. I mean, extra regeneration is good, but I don't think it's better than the talent tree that I'll be showing you guys because what we really need is just generally tankiness and counter attack damage. So over here, it's up to you. Like you can go with either infantry speed or taking less hero skill damage. Both are really good. Personal preference, up to you. Over here, I would go with Adrenaline Rush, simply because I told you that normal attack damage doesn't matter too much, but you don't have like much better options. This is fine if you use Madeline with Garwood, but I would suggest using Madeline with Nika simply for the extra counter attack damage. So up to you. If you use Garwood, yeah, this one is good. If you use Nika, definitely Adrenaline Rush. Then for the stone tree, I would suggest going with Cool Headed because it will increase your defense for 3 seconds when you cast rage skills. Basically making you that much tankier. Overall, like your counter attack damage will stay high, so you'll be getting better trades, and the enemy normal attacks will be dealing less damage to you because you have more defense. So overall, you'll be getting much better trades. Then over here, so cavalry counter tactics, obviously it's really good because you'll be dealing more damage to cavalry. However, for a big fight, I don't think any cavalry will be going head on against you in a big fight. So personally, I do not think this one is that good, and I would suggest all conquering because again, you'll be having the whole enemy Zerg attacking you. So taking as like less damage is key for you to survive as long as possible while also dealing as much counter-attack damage as possible. Over here, we'll be going with Last Word because, again, more counter-attack damage to everyone that attacks you. And over here, you go with Flank Protection simply because you'll be surrounded like 100% of the time as a melee in a big fight. So by getting Flank Protection, you'll be receiving less bonus damage from being surrounded. This is very, very, very important. Definitely take this one over any other. Over here, this one is good because it would extend the duration of your shield, but I do not think it's worth taking because in a big fight you'll be getting massively targeted. So the odds are your shield will break before the duration ends. So I would suggest going with Ready for Battle, which is you've got a 10% chance of an extra counter attack when someone attacks you with a normal attack. So what this means is since you are going with very, very tanky talents, your march will be taking a lot less damage from normal attacks and from skill attacks. So you will be surviving a lot of like for a long time. So there's a really good chance you'll be proccing this talent a lot of times to the enemies. Then afterwards, I suggest going with the tank tree. Again, um, this is not you dealing more counter attack damage. This is you taking less, so it's not what you want. You don't deal skill damage, so this is not what you want. So overall, I would go with Legion movement speed here, definitely over the other two. Then over here, I would go with All Conquering. Like this one is good, so you can proc your shield more often, but I believe taking less normal attack damage is far more important than that. So I would suggest going with All Conquering. As for the talent here, uh, like it's your personal preference. So impregnable defense, it's crazy good, but it has like a limited duration of 10 seconds, while the unyielding spirit will keep on getting applied as long as you are being hit by the enemies. However, this one only applies to hero skill damage. So like if what I would say is if it's a smaller fight, as in like maybe 40, 50, 60 enemies, I would say go with unyielding spirit because you'll be alive for longer. Therefore, the value of this talent will be more worth it in like longer fights. However, if the enemy has like 100 people, 100 marches, and you know you will die fast, I would definitely suggest impregnable defense. So, like the first 10 seconds that you are in the middle, you'll be super tanky and take nearly no damage and dealing a lot of counter attack damage. So basically, big fights, impregnable defense. If you think you'll be able to survive for a long time, unyielding spirit. Madeline talent tree would look like this. And again, red circles, mandatory, blue circles, optional. It's your personal preference. And that's it for this video. These are, in my personal opinion, the only primary commanders you want to be running. Any others wouldn't be as good of a choice, in my opinion. So if you have any other questions, feel free to ask in the comments and I'll make sure to answer them. See ya.